Okay. We are ready to go. Well, folks, welcome and welcome to the Go for Diamond call this evening. Thank you for joining us. And today's training is so important, which is third-party credibility. If I can credit a technique or a training segment or my strategy of building my business, it's I would say 90%, more than that, 95% of the revenue that we have today contributes to the use of third-party credibility. And the reason why we want to, Tammy and I thought of doing this call this evening, even though we've done this before and the calls are recorded, but again, with changing times, different strategies, different approaches, we tend to add this in those segments, training segment. Even though we have the same slide, the content may vary from slide to slide because of the changing times. And also we want to make it interactive, and we'll see how it flows throughout the training to get your feedback. I know we had some trade shows. Some of you had some leads, and some of you are still working on your leads. And the one thing that I found is associates that are utilizing third-party credibility tend to always have a higher closing ratio than the folks that are trying to do this all on their own. What are your thoughts, Tammy?
Yeah, I mean, we're so accustomed to survive on our own in the traditional world, but coming into network marketing is really a different beast. And obviously we learned that 25 years ago. And you're absolutely right, Chris, when you talked about the percentage of the success that you've had over the years came from those third-party connections with leaders, with CEO, with, I mean, I could think of a few times I've talked to Bobby Horn and had her talk to people that were at the caliber of product information. So it's the third parties that will help you solidify the result that you're looking for, which is really, really important. But don't forget to marry the whole process. This is the final process for people to make decisions, but the whole process will lead up to this. And if you follow the process, we call that the Success Cycle series, always go back to it, because if you're not leveraging it, you're probably not getting the results that you're looking for in building your business. And the reason that it says Success Cycle is because it works, and you have to follow through with the whole process. In other words, we're all creating our connections. There we go. We're all prospecting people, connecting with people, building relationships with people. And then we're inviting them to have a look at something for those who are curious enough to have a look. And in the process of that, there is a follow-up. And in that follow-up, it could be a third-party validation right away. And you'll know in that process. But through the process, always remember what your goal is: to build trust, is to give them enough value for them to make a positive decision in moving forward. And in that process, you're building really good relationships. I have to say, the best relationships I've ever had in my life come from network marketing, and the skills that we've learned and acquired over the years and applied. So this has served us so well for so many years. I mean, we can do this with our eyes closed because we do it all the time. So it's to be able to practice over and over and over, and don't miss the step. Don't miss
I
the
agree.
steps. Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I want to congratulate all of you that participate in the trade shows. And I know that maybe some of you have done some personal activities on your own, and that's totally cool. The one thing in this business that Tammy and I have learned over the years, when you look at this cycle, the prospecting, the inviting, and the follow-up, is the trust factor. Right. And I think a lot of people get into this business and hoping they'll make the sell, and hoping that people will see the possibilities of the opportunity and sign up into their team. But the portion is the trust is not strong enough. You know, if you look at a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, a lot of folks, when they get first initiated to all this information, the level won't pass level 3, level 4, maybe level 5. It could be level 6, even level 7. But again, it's not just trust in you, it's the trust in themselves, the trust in the process. And all of that actually will clarify as you follow up and follow through with your following up process. What I mean by following through is, you know, the first time you send them a video. And by the way, maybe some of you are using this, maybe some of you are not. We'll cover that a little later, but if you go to the maxlook.info, there are 3 videos at the beginning, which is the science, the timing, and I believe there's a testimonial from Africa, I believe mainly Ghanaian associates. And then the last 2 is a presentation that Jasmine and I did several months back, or about 2 months ago, which I felt was a great presentation that, and again, many of you, I know you also record your presentations. You can utilize that also. But I'm telling you, don't underestimate the power of sending this information. You know, you can't scare off a person who's interested. What's going to happen is the tool will be utilized as a sorting system for you, so you don't waste your time with the wrong people. So it's important that you put them through, but don't just send them this video out of thin air with absolutely no information. It's important that they understand how you feel. They understand the reason why you want them to look at that, because the main reason why people will consider looking or consuming or buying has a lot to do with the way you feel about whatever that something is. And that element it's part of the process, which occurs sometime in the prospecting aspect, and then in the inviting aspect has been reinforced, and then they saw the information, and then you follow up. And then the point is, we'll go through some of the basics here in a moment on third-party validation as to why, which gets to the point. I'll pass over to Tammy here, but it's why are we doing? Why is it important? And that's what we want to talk to you about. And I find that as we are progressing, a lot of you know your stuff very well, but you're not adding that third-party validation that is so important, that it's still being done on TV. Well, I don't watch much TV, but it's mainly now streaming, but you know what I mean? Let's refocus online, right? Very often I'm going to see certain commercials, and even in the morning, listening to the news now, there's commercials if you want to listen to the next segment, and there's always a third party that will validate what they're talking about. It's the way we communicate as humans, right? We'll talk a little bit about how, when to use it and how to use it. And that's extremely, extremely important. And folks, I'm telling you, after tonight, if we can do at least one third-party validation with any of your contacts of any kind, I'm telling you that we're going to see some conversion. I guarantee that we will see it. So I think these are my thoughts. Tammy, you want to share before I shift over to the next slide?
No, let's go right into the meat and potatoes here.
Okay.
So why is it important? And we all know this. It's all about building credibility. And again, you always hear that. Every trainer out there today that's talking is value, 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 value. Value's very, very important. And you're going to build that credibility by sharing value and connecting your prospects to something that's bigger than they can imagine. And we all know what we have in our hands. We just got to stop keeping this our secret formula. You know, it's time to get really loud and take it bigger and brand, and just brand awareness, value, value, value. And through the process, you're going to build some very powerful relationships, especially the ones who have the courage to step up and become an associate, become a customer, because they're going to get their own experience from this. And then, of course, the cost-effective, the time-effective process, you're going to be creating that value around that, building business building while being trained. This system, you're actually training your brand new person, your prospect, on how to do this business. If you look at the process that you've gone through with every single prospect that you're connected to, if you're missing one of those steps, when you go to train them, they know what you put them through. So follow the system to a T. You'll see that you're going to get huge success. And of course, the goal in all of this is for the third party, which is the leader or whoever you're using to connect to your prospect, is that they validate you back on how successful you are, how strong you are in building relationships, whatever it is about you, team building. You build a lot of team culture, like whatever it is, they're going to validate you back in the process. And of course, the goal is always to move the prospect to the next step. There's always a next step until they make a decision. And then once they make a decision, then the next step is the training portion. And of course,
Absolutely.
of course, it's the duplication process.
That's an understatement. I understand that. And by the way, I just want to welcome everybody on Facebook Live here. Hey, Erica, nice to see you. And I see folks, Venus from the Philippines. Thank you guys for joining us here. Awesome to have you with us. And share your comments, feedback, and I'm watching and responding as we go in real time here, folks. Okay, so one of the things that's important here, again, to keep in mind is, I know at the beginning it might feel awkward a little bit, or some of you may feel, well, you know what, I don't want to oversell my prospect. I don't want to scare them with the network marketing. I know Chris and Tammy are all about the business and this and that, folks. We have experience in this kind of business, and we can feel it out. We can feel it out. I know that Bill and Linda just recently had a prospect that we met at a barbecue that was hosted by Barbara Ann and Paul Gagnon. And I think that the third party credibility and the fact that they saw everybody mingling together, the team, and that, you can probably give me a thumbs up, Linda. Exactly. Right. So that's, again, was part of the process. And this is what we want to deliver in this message this evening is third party. We're not just telling you to do third party credibility and force you into it. It's because we know that it creates a collaboration of culture that will build everything you share. And keep in mind, folks, Tammy and I have been living the residual impact of what we're talking about for 15 years with Max International, full time. And so we're not just talking and wishy-washy and wish, spies on the sky in the skies. We are living what we're breeding, what we're sharing, what we are passionate about.
Yeah, we apply it daily. We're doing the same actions that you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah. So all of that is part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get to the point, by the way, this is not a long call. This is a short call. We're getting close to the end here. So you say third-party credibility, when do we use it? Well, as we mentioned, it could be during a follow-up. It could be someone that is very, very skeptical. And I remember, at one point, my mother was very skeptical. And every time I spoke my mom about something new, she's skeptical. And then my brother was the one that kind of became the third party credibility because I'm involved. Obviously, I will say nice thing about it. But then my brother added his points and his results and his testimony. And that's what made the sell. Right. So that's the point. And that could be in the process. So it doesn't mean that you do a third party credibility when they signed up or when you feel they're ready or when they've seen the information, where we tend to want you to go through the process initially, in getting them introduced. But if you're new or uncomfortable, or that person might be a little bit intimidating to you because of their success, whatever you may feel, we can help you by establishing a level of credibility and balance and everything else. But it also could be on the closing aspect. And one of the questions that I often ask, and some of you probably will testify to that, is I ask is, what did you like best about what you saw? And again, it's a reminder, you don't ask questions like, what do you think? Because if it's a person that tends to always look at the negative side of things and you have to deal with a negative comment, then you have to climb that hill instead of starting from the top, right? Starting from a positive note. What did you like best about what you saw? That's a typical 101 training when it comes to initiating a question when you do follow-up. What do you think? What do you like best? It's dangerous when you do that because now you're putting the faith into how they go about doing things and how they process information. And it may be a little harder for you to kind of bring them back up to where you want them to be, right? And again, it could be about the product. It could be about making money. It could be both. At the end of the day, what's important is that you listen. This is something I cannot stress enough. that you listen to what they're telling you. We'll probably come back to that on later slides. And number two is often another option I ask is, because often, a prospect will be introduced to me and I don't know what was shared to them. I don't know what they've seen. I don't know them as a person. So often I want to get a gauge where 7, I know that that's a good level of interest we can build on. If it's a 5, that means we need more information. If it's a 3, then there's a lot of work there, right? If it's a 1, then we'll figure it out. We see where we go from there. But I never had a 1, to be honest with you. It's either a 6 or 7 or 8 or a 9. That's the average. In all my years, I've never got a 3, never got a 4. I think maybe once I might have got a 5. That was a 50%. It's totally cool. But the point here is this is another gauge. So if you happen to be doing a third-party credibility, I know some of you do it with your downline. That is a really good gauge. Anything above 7, this is good. You can build on that. You can probably make a product sell at least, or maybe even consider considering doing the business at whatever level based on, what they're capable of doing and based on how much information they got and their level of belief on what it is we're presenting to them. But that's a great way to gauge the level of interest. And number 3 is when to use it is to introduce your leader to a mentor or leader that it's part of the follow-up process. So again, very important here is if someone just signed up, okay, it's really good to introduce. And sometimes people will sign up, they do absolutely nothing, they don't show up, they don't do anything, and they quit. It's part of the process. It's just the way things are. Okay. But the fact here is it will always serve you well to plug in your new associate to an upline leader, especially someone who's actually living the results of this. And when I say living, it doesn't mean that you have to make the kind of money we're making. It could be just the kind of money that you're earning that will complement your payments for your mortgage, like Scott Anderson have shared in the past. As a matter of fact, I remember several years ago when he did his last payment for his mortgage, it was a significant amount of that payment came from the max payments income that he received. You see? So again, folks, this, especially today when I see, I was watching the news a couple of days ago where a single mom was depriving herself from nutrition by eating 1 meal a day so her kids could have 3 meals a day. This is how bad it has become. That was in the United States. It was some news I was listening to. It was in the news. Forgot which article I saw that, but it's real. It's not just make-believe. It's actually real. And this lady ended up at the emergency because of malnutrition, right? She was underfed. And these are the things, this is what's going on today, right? I just find out today by talking to, our CEO that certain markets, the inflation is almost at 40%. I mean, folks, it is tough out there. It is tough out there. So when you present something that is credible, that brings another stream of income, that serves a very common problem that we have when it comes to our health, again, all of this is going to build the belief, the interests, and the credibility on what we have to offer. See, that's what third party does. So when you introduce a leader to welcome them to the team, make them feel part of something bigger than what they might have seen. We can introduce them to download the boards and discussion. And again, there's a lot of things we can cover, and we'll talk to you about preparing for a third-party call so we make sure that we cover what you need for your particular prospect. But these are some of the aspects on the third-party credibility as to when to use it and how to go about it. Anything you want to add to this, Tammy?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when on the third part there, introduce your mentor leader as part of the follow-up process. That third-party validation could be early on in the process of for them to make a decision, especially like Chris said, when people are feeling that they can't do it on their own. Maybe the person has a different background, different credibility. You need to bring that third party in, and often I get, well, how do I ask them? How do I bring them in? And what I like to, when I bring somebody into a conversation, I like to edify them for their accomplishments and stuff. But I let them know that we work together as a team, that if they make a decision to partner with us, they're not in this alone. We're here together to work with them. And I'd really like you to get a chance to meet Chris or Jasmine or Olga or whoever I'm going to use as a third party validation. And then when they come in, they're going to see that environment. They're going to feel that environment. And I tend to pick people for a third party validation for my prospects. I tend to pick people that will relate really well with the associate. So I don't just always go for one person. I go for different people that I know that can just solidify that decision for that person based on maybe, for example, maybe that person has the same career as an associate. So they will totally relate. Like if they happen to be a nurse, they might be working shift work. The associate who's a nurse or was a nurse and used to do shift work, they can totally relate to that conversation. And that conversation is going to help them to make a decision to get out of that situation so that they could have a better quality of life being home with their family. And they're going to get this environment of togetherness into partnership and working together.
Totally agree, Tammy. Did you talk about the preparation? How do we prepare? That's really important.
Okay, so number one is determine the purpose and desired outcome of the conversation. So when you are asking for a third party validation with whoever it is you're connecting with, you got to have an idea of the outcome you want your leader to move them towards. So if you've had some great conversations around products, then the outcome may be for them to get to buy the product, to try the product, to give it a shot, right? If you've just had conversations about them and they have never come to a presentation, well, maybe that's where you want the leader or the third party, whoever it is going to work with you, to gear them towards. So kind of have an idea of where you'd like them where you'd like the leader to gear them towards. So it's easier for them in conversation to move the prospect. So it's good for the leader to have an idea where they're going in the conversation. So send them, a few key points about the prospect and what you've done up to now and where you want them to go. Okay, it might even go bigger than you expect. And it's happened many times, but at least you have a guideline. And then number two is to plan ahead for the third party exposure at a presentation, one-on-one or by phone. You need to know how you're going to set it up. So if you ask me, for example, to do a Zoom presentation with you, so make sure that you have a Zoom account set up that you would invite me to your Zoom session. You would send a link to me. And if you don't know how to do all of this, talk to the leaders. Somebody can guide you and help you get set up with Zoom. If it's by the phone, whatever it is, one-on-one, meeting people if they're local and close by. So brief your mentor on the prospect and purpose. So that was number three. We already discussed that so that you get that desired outcome and the timing for the conversation. Number four, if you're doing a three-way call, make sure you know how your technology works and your phone is equipped with three-way calls. And I think that all of us in the last 2.5 years had to adjust and learn a lot of this stuff. That's why I was laughing a little bit, because I know myself and technology. But make sure that you are prepared. There's always going to be upgrades to different platforms. And sometimes you're going to get caught and stuck. And so the best thing to do is to work on being prepared. We're all human beings. I get that. And don't let that intimidate you either. That's one thing that I don't allow to happen, is things like this to intimidate me. I'm a human being and we just roll with it and we make it happen. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tammy, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought you paused in. Yeah, so at the end of the day here, folks, just to add an example, right? I'm doing a call tomorrow with our CEO in reference to a leader that I'm working on. And, it's not easy, right? There's some challenges and, the price structure and everything else and inflation and so forth. And I called him today to exactly give him what's my desired outcome for the conversation. I know I'm not going to sign her up right away, But once we're open in September in Mexico, and I don't know if it's September, but if it's around that and it occurs, I want to make sure that we cover all angle, and I want to maintain the relationship. And I told him that. Okay. And I'm preparing him on what I think she's going to be covering and sharing. And, she's going to be talking about pricing and in Mexico and how things work there and everything else. So I prepared him for what I think is going to happen. Right. So from there, when your upline leader or your third party credibility person is in line with your outcome and desired conversation, then you can have a much more productive third party credibility. Okay. It's not always going to be that way, but if you're in a position to do this, do it. I'm telling you, third party credibility has been the foundation to our success. I'm telling you. And by the way, I want to welcome everybody on Facebook Live that just joined in, and lots of you from the Philippines. Thank you for coming in, guys. So, and continuing.
Many people, I just wanted to add something. Many people ask us, you guys are Crown Diamond. Why are you guys doing third-party validation? Because it's a system. And we duplicate a system. We can easily close people.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the skills to close them. But we're not teaching our prospects in the process, and we're not following the system. So we follow the system to a T, just so you all know.
And again,
to a T.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how rich you are, how big you are, successful you are. I'm telling you, when you're the one talking about whatever it is that you want to talk about, there's always a sense of biasness. I don't know if that's a word, right? People feel that you're biased, right? When you have a third party, and so there's other elements that comes into play. So that's the thing. That's the reason why it doesn't matter how big and that we reach the pinnacle. It's irrelevant, really, because in the eyes of the prospect, we're a leadership level 1. If you recall the level 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5, and John C. Maxwell, if you remember the trainings we've done on that, when someone doesn't know you from Adam, you're back to square one. They don't know who you are. So that third party credibility is very, very important. So here's some of the way to go about preparing for third party credibility. And I've done that. I've explained that many times in the past. So if you're doing it in person or by phone, whatever the situation may be, or by Zoom, right, by a virtual presentation, it's very important is introduce your mentor leader and edify them properly, and don't oversell, but just share the facts of they've reached the pinnacle of the company. If you're talking about Tammy and I, they've traveled the world. They've helped literally thousands of people. They contributed to opening markets in different parts of the world. And, they actually, because of this business model, they've been able to live in the United States and Florida in the winter and back in Canada. See, these are things that, that's nice. As a matter of fact, we're meeting with a prospect we met at the trade show at GetFit Pro, and the guy says, "I want your lifestyle."
We were taking pictures and video of him in the car on Friday. He's coming over tomorrow. Yeah.
So that's kind of what sold them. It's the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But that's the point and that's the reason why introducing a leader or mentor that are living, you validate that this is a real deal. It's not some sham or whatever. Number 2 is you also want to introduce your prospect and edify them at an equal level. You've heard us train this often. It's important that someone doesn't feel beneath. And Canada doesn't go well anyway. So we have to create an equal playing field where, okay, you got the leader and he's a specialist and whatever, he's successful in this and Max International. And by the way, Chris or Tammy, I want you to introduce you to John. And John, is a medical practitioner. He's a wonderful man. He cares whatever the situation may be. So at this point is you want to also edify the person. And then at this point, you want to turn the conversation over to the mentor leader. And one thing that you want to say to avoid the awkward silence by, okay, who speaks first? Who says hi first? One thing that, leaders have done in the past is they would say, Chris or Tammy, why don't you say hi to, let's say, John? So now we have a clear starting point without this awkward silence, who's going to start speaking. And again, it makes the call smooth, professional, and then we start flowing with the information, asking question, building relationship, establishing credibility. And that's the power of third party, the third party credibility call. Now, when you close off the conversation, and often, folks, this is where we lose the prospect, is the leader, the mentor signs off, and depending on the level of experience that you have, you stay on the call. And then you go on and you start explaining prices and this and that and this and that and this and that and this and that. And unfortunately, they were at the top of the food chain. They were just there. And now they're at the top. Now they're starting to decline. They start going down. Just, oh, is that one of those things? And what happens is, depending on your level of experience, and I'm not saying it's no good to stay with them on the phone, but it depends. If you're an experienced networker, you know what to do. The next step is either sign him up, get him to buy a product, or book the next call. That's what a professional networker will do. Where someone who's less experienced, that's a little bit nervous, a little bit less confident, they're going to start being slapped around by their prospect and start listening, focusing on all their questions that could be destructive to what was built, because they're going to make a decision based on what they're hearing and not really what the facts are, just because of the lack of experience. For that reason, what we recommend, if you're not an experienced networker, is once the leader leaves, you don't want to run away, right? You want to finish the conversation. So for example, if someone says, well, can you tell me more about this or more about that? I mean, you know what? I actually love that. Let me do this. Let me gather that information and send it over to you. And then it gives you time, and it gives you the space to deal with your leader. You would call the leader back and you would say, listen, this is going on. This is what's happening. So what's happening is, while the conversation is over, you're feeding your leader, your mentor, on what's actually happening to help you close and to help you to kind of move the prospect to where you want him to go. Okay. So I hope I'm not complicating this. I'm just trying to cover all angles based on the reality of how things are in real life, right? So once the conversation—
by the time you're done with your, by the time the leader's getting off the phone, there's already a direction. So just move them towards that direction. That's simple. So
that's true, but not always, Tammy, because sometimes, depending on how experienced the third-party credibility call has been done, it would vary from people to people, right? So in some cases, you're right. If it's you and I or any of the leaders here that knows, we know what to do. There's a sense of direction, and then we move on to the next step. But my point is that and I'm telling you this because I see this often, so often, where we've done the call went very, very well, and the person is gone with the wind. They're not in. What happened? And usually that's when the problem is. So that's why I'm spending time on that, because I want you to be aware of where the challenges are often with someone that has less experience.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So by the time the leader is finished the conversation, they've already made the direction for your prospect. So move them towards that direction, and then you would get off the phone. So if Chris would say, he's your third party, and he would say, I recommend you attend one of the Zoom presentations. So as soon as Chris gets off the phone, you just say, hey, by the way, John, I'm just going to forward you the presentation. Thanks for taking the time. And you get off the phone, get out of the Zoom session, and send them the information. Mm-hmm. If it's to try the product, it's the same thing. I would walk them to the, if you're on a Zoom session, I would take them right to the website and show them how they can purchase the product. So you need to learn all of these things in the process. Yes.
So these are all things that you really need to get a control on, because that's going to determine your level of success with what we do and how we go about doing the business. Okay. So never be afraid to get the sell. Never be uncomfortable, because that's when the real work begins, and you don't want to waste your time. Okay. And we can help you with that. So this is the portion that, we want to cover here, which is a very, very important area where people either make it or break it. And the fact here, again, keep in mind, folks, technology changes by the minute. So whatever pictures you have here, obviously things has evolved. If you look at the iPhone, things are a little different now, but the point here is that you got the cell phone, And don't forget that even with WhatsApp, because I know that a lot of us now do business internationally, right? You don't need to call people anymore. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in a long distance business because these guys are a dying breed. So, WhatsApp, you can have a conversation and you can add as many people as you want. Obviously, you don't want too many because the bandwidth sometimes it's not all that great. But you can have, a third party here, right? You have your upline leader, and you have your prospect. And same thing with Messenger. And if you want, you can even create groups within these two apps over here. I mean, I have not done this for like ages. All I do is these two over here. And
I
that's
think we
what we
should
do.
add Zoom there too, because a lot of
Yeah.
our third-party validation today is Zoom. I just recently did some with some of the team members in the last couple of weeks, and Zoom is such a great platform because you get to see each other, you get to read each other's body language, and
Yeah.
you really get to get that feeling of a team environment. Yeah.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I believe that these buttons are pretty much the same actually when you do with a cell phone. Remember, the merge was pretty straightforward. So same thing. But at the end of the day, as we stated, is learn the technology. We don't have the Samsung technology over here. So, but it's, it's pretty much the same stuff, right? So learn your technology and utilize these wonderful free tools to be able to connect around the world if that is the case. Okay. Now, and so, yeah, so you go ahead, Tammy, it was your turn.
Yeah, so leveraging leaders equals leveraged income, and that is the truth. As you start getting momentum by following the whole process, including that third-party validation, until you can be the leader yourself, where you can easily close people. But even then, as I mentioned to you, we continue to follow the full system. Even though we don't really have to, we do it because it shows people that there's a system for people to follow through. And the prospect will go through that whole system, every single one of our prospects. And so third-party validation is really a Zoom session away, a third-party cell phone call away. It's so easy. So leverage it. That's our whole message to everybody this evening, is to leverage the system, because the system really does work.
So as we summarize here, as we come to an end here, we may do some interactive here. And by the way, thank you so much. There's a lot of folks that are coming in on the Facebook Live. You guys are awesome. So what's going on here when we go to the summary of third-party credibility is, one, your role really is to edify your mentor leader and your prospect. Okay, that's the role. Okay. And the thing is, you tend to want to stay quiet throughout the conversation while the leader is especially if you're new at this business or are doing this kind of process. So you don't kind of deviate the conversation every time and take a conversation that could last 10 minutes to be 45 minutes or even 90 minutes, because there's constant interruption from conversation that kind of deviates a conversation to another that you need to bring back to what you're trying to do. So that's one of the reasons why you tend to want to stay quiet. It's also, you don't want to overwhelm the prospect with too much information that could be a little overwhelming to the person, right? And then end the discussion by thanking your leader and giving your prospect a clear next step. What are we going from there? You want to try the product? You want to become an associate, or do you need more information? These are the three steps. And it's very clear. Clarity. I cannot stress you enough on that. You need to establish clarity. You don't want to hang up the call with gray zone area, not knowing what's going on. Are they interested? Are they going to pick up my next call? You need clarity. Where are we? Okay. This is something that I'm very, very strong on. And your mentor's role is to edify you, as Tammy stated earlier, is to establish credibility with you and the environment that you're presenting to your prospect, build a relationship with your prospect, and not to push or to sell or oversell, but just to build a relationship and create some value. Because remember, we're dealing with a different economy today. Things are a bit more expensive today than they were several years ago because of inflation and so forth. So you have to increase your value in the way you're talking about it, because the reality is there's true value, what we have to offer, true value. But this value will only be transcended by your words in the way that you are presenting the information. So you need to evolve and improve in your skill. And the next step is to even help you move your prospect to the next desired outcome if it's possible. Which brings out to the next point, Tammy, is you need to improve and work on your skills. You don't want to stay the same, year after year after year after year. You need to evolve, and you'll evolve by applying and doing. Back to you, Tammy.
Yeah, I've learned a lot over the years, being the student and bringing in a third party validation, no matter what level we were ever at. And I just listened and learned and got some great techniques on how to connect with people. And I just listen and learn on how the third party is connecting with one of my prospects. And it's really interesting. So this is a great way to learn some new skills on connection, on relationship building, things that you may never have thought of, and just, you're taking down notes and just being quiet and being that student. And eventually you'll become that third party and you'll have it down pat. You'll be nailing it. And yeah, you're always learning, always growing. So do a lot of this and your income will grow. Do a lot of this, you'll get to a whole new level in your mindset, in your posture, in your business, in your ranks. And when you're downline, your team members see you get to another level, that takes it to a whole new level. Your credibility will go to a whole new level in front of your peers.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree, Tammy.
Yeah.
And you know what, Venus, I know that you're on Facebook Live here from the Philippines. Thank you for joining us. And as you're probably going to see that video that we did for Gwen and Joe on your MLMR that's going to be occurring this, I think on Saturday, where we talked about one of the main common denominator that we found among great leaders is they're constantly improving, they're constantly evolving, they're constantly searching for the environment for them to add on to their skills. And this is something that you need to be aware of, folks. It's really, really important as you build this business. For me, this business is a multi-million-dollar enterprise. That's our business. Now, for you, how are you seeing your business? And again, in the video that we've done is that what you think about expands. Are you seeing your business as this lemonade stand on the side of the road, or are you seeing this as this major Apple corporation? If you understand my meaning when looking at the two different thought process, right? Because what you think about expands. I'm telling you, this is not some shoebox operation. This is a big, big business. The question is to build your network and to be an influencer within your network. And to get there is to improve your skills. And as you improve your skills, you will attract the people that you're looking for. Sorry, Tammy, I know I cut in. You go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. Always growing, always improving. And that's when you're going to get to that next level. And always set intentions, always set goals on a daily basis. It's good to create a habit of writing down the things that you want to accomplish the next day. Because when you wake up in the morning, we all know we all get busy. And when you know where you're going before you get up, then it makes it a whole lot easier. Set goals every day. How many people do you want to connect with every single day? How many people do you want to have on a Zoom session tomorrow night? How many people do you want on Wednesday night? How many people do you want on Thursday night? And just set intentions and goals. And don't get emotionally attached to them. Just work towards them. And the more you do it, the more you become repetitive, then all of this becomes such an easy, productive machine going over and over and over again. So we always talk about assignments, because if we're working on assignments, we're working on ourselves. We're always personally growing. So set your weekly sign up goal on a Sunday, set it. And then every single night, review and set your following day to make sure you're online with everything that you want to achieve that week. Number 2 is to book a third-party calls with your leader daily. Write that down every evening when you do your recap on what you want to accomplish the next day. Work towards a third party. Doesn't matter who you use, but to do this on a daily basis. Watch your team grow from there. And number 3, have 3 key points prepared to edify your leader, to keep it simple. And then number 4 is to keep track of your progress. We have a max action report. That is extremely helpful. It's helpful to be mentored for your leader to work with you when they know where you're going and they know what you're up to and your action steps, because it's really hard to mentor people when you don't know their activities and they're on and off or whatever the situation is. It's hard to nail things down and to know where they're going when you don't know who they've talked to, what was the next step with them. So the results are really in the doing. And we can learn and learn and learn all we want. But if you're not taking action on a daily basis to improve on these skills, then you'll never get further. And I know that every single one of you invest your time here for your trainings to move forward. So let's get busy and let's start working together and leverage each other for those 3 third-party validation calls, Zooms, whatever they are, so we can help each other get to a whole new level.
I totally agree, Tammy. One of the things that would like to do is give you an opportunity if you have any questions, comments, situation you may come across. If you happen to be on Facebook Live, you want to post them there, I'll be watching. If you happen to be with us here on Zoom, if you have any scenarios that you'd like to share, and if not, that's okay too. Just want to give you an opportunity to share if you want to. You can unmute yourselves, or you can just type in your comment.
Chris, who recently in this group that we're seeing right now, and maybe on Facebook, Chris, who recently has done a third-party validation call, Zoom session with us or somebody else? Who has done that recently that want to share their experience? Okay, Olga, you can open up and.
All right. Hi, good evening, everyone. So I had a third party, I think it was on Friday, with Tammy, and it was with somebody that I had been working, somebody I see, and I believe it went really well. It was through a Zoom chat, and she actually watched. Actually, it was Thursday night because she watched the opportunity meeting, and we set up the call for 8:30. And but prior to that, setting it up, I actually told her very little about it, and I gave her the opportunity of what day she wanted to watch actually the opportunity. Either you want the information or do you want to watch a live event? And she opted for a live event. She couldn't make it for the Tuesday night, and so she said Thursday. And we just set it up, and I obviously introduced her and then Tammy, or the other way around, I can't remember. And I did the, Tammy, please say hello to Sherry, and took it from there. And you answered her questions, went back and forth for a little bit, and we sold her a trial pack. So she's on that. She started, I think, on Sunday, and going to be following up with her. I believe it is tomorrow. So it went really well. She enjoyed it.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Olga. And she's probably heading to Florida now. So
yeah, soon.
Yeah. So that she had something going on in the process while she's evaluating. So that's when you have to be patient and set up the next step with people when they have a lot of stuff going on. So thanks, Olga, for sharing that. Anybody else want to share?
I'm just watching.
Yeah, I guess I can jump in. Chris mentioned earlier that we had a friend, I guess, we been coaching us on resistant training and all that. So Lynn and I've been establishing a relationship with her. And then we started talking about Max and ATP because she's traveling back and forth to Cambridge. She's an athlete. And then she came down to Paul and Barbara and Gagnon's party. I didn't think she was going to come because she was in Cambridge training, or she had a meeting and drove all the way down to the Gagnon's party, and then introduced Chris and Tammy and all the other people. I think she was quite. Well, she was quite thrilled about all this, and then we eventually got Tammy or Chris to do a third party, and she's now an associate with us. And what did she get, Linda? I can't remember. you She ordered a bunch of stuff.
She came in with the intro pack.
Awesome.
She came in with the intro pack, yeah.
So it did work, yeah, but it took a little bit, it takes a little bit of time, as you say, Tammy. It's building your relationship. If you go hard at the very beginning, I think you lose a person, but developing a relationship,
Yes.
and we're gonna be starting training with her and just getting her more involved one step at a time there. So it's all, yeah, it worked out well.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, guys. Appreciate it.
She won the hula hoop contest. We had so much fun. Yeah.
That's right,
so
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that's when I
Yeah.
discovered I was able to use the hula hoop. It says I had no idea. It worked out. But again, what's really important here is that you don't want to be kind of a drill sergeant when you're interacting with your prospect. This is really important. It has to be a back and forth, kind of like sitting in your backyard and having a beer or whatever. The beer is a bad example. You know what I mean? Is that you're just kind of socializing in a nice conversation, and in the process you're exchanging, and that's what makes the third party a lot more user friendly and credible. So any other feedback or comment? I'm just trying to see if there's anything on Facebook Live. We have some wonderful comments. Everything is great here. Okay, so I mean, we can end on this note. As you can see, folks, it's not rocket science, right? I mean, it's simple. The question is the habit of doing it. And we really, really encourage you this week. Don't wait till next week and next month. It won't happen. This is one thing Anthony Robbins used to say: stop the car right now, pause the car, and then pause the audio at the time. Remember, Tammy, we were driving from Ottawa to Toronto, and then do it now, because if you don't do it now, you won't do it. Right.
True.
So we recommend to take action on this, and it will definitely serve you well. Okay. So
Hey,
this yep, go ahead.
We're just gonna butt in. Yeah, we had a nice three-way with Lee just last week at the marina with the owner of the marina, and it worked out really, really good. So we're following up with her and just sent her the information on the Cellgevity.
Beautiful.
So we'll follow up.
Thank you for sharing. And again, I remember that section when we visited your home. I see the coffee machine there, and I see the picture behind you. There we go. It's nice when you actually will visit and you actually see live what's really there. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you sharing. Okay, so anybody else wants to share as we end this call here?
I know, Janet, you do a lot.
Janet is absolutely rocking it. Janet, I know we're putting you on the spot. Do you want to share a little bit of what's going on with what you do? She might be in the kitchen, like doing dishes or something, or catching you by surprise. That's so good. That's so good, Janet. And Janet is actually doing absolutely fantastic.
Done at 7 a.m. in the morning. It's so cool.
Yeah. So again, congratulations and all of you, and thank you very much, guys, that are here on Facebook Live. Really appreciate you. And feel free to post your questions or comments if you want after the call is done, and we'll make sure to watch and pay attention. This is on the Active Team Group page. And you can see the video there if you want to listen to the recording, and also the activeteamtraining.com. That's where we put all of our video recordings, and the playlist would be the Go for Diamond webinar. Okay, so I guess we can end on this note, Tammy, unless you have any last words you want to end on this evening.
We're good. Let's just lots of 3 ways and help you guys get to the next level.
Awesome, guys. Okay, have yourself a wonderful rest of your evening, and looking forward to chat with you this week. Bye for now.